Oh, touche. Anyway, so yeah, let's talk about what we're all here to talk about. Oh no, not that one. Oh yeah, that one. I just forgot to scroll back up to the top because an idiot. Oh no, that is the top. The top looks weird. Okay, this is a Substack called The Status Quo by this guy. Oh no, this is a Please Give Me Money by J Quo. I don't know what his credentials are or anything, but this was a good article that I enjoyed reading. So we analyzed the indictment. Here are my big takeaways. Did you read the indictment?
I have not, because I've been gone. So it's been in my peripheral, but not actually in my focus.
Yeah, so I read the whole damn thing.
Oh dear.
It's a very interesting read. It basically lays out the entire timeline of everything that Trump did to obstruct the election results from being certified from Election Day to January 6th.
But wait, that's different than the specific way that apparently the Republican Party is supposed to work.
What's amazing about it, though, is that, like, so much of the information that's in the indictment was just stuff that happened right out in public and was public knowledge. Like, as I'm reading it through, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember that. So it's like everything here is just public stuff that obviously happened. I mean, there definitely was a whole lot of private stuff, like when Mike Pence reported that Donald Trump told him he was too honest when he wouldn't go along with his scheme. That wasn't public knowledge at the time. But like, yeah, apparently Mike Pence takes really detailed notes about every conversation he has. So like him being this super strung up asshole type character actually might end up being the smoking gun that gets Trump sent away.
I mean, if he takes meticulous notes of all of his conversations, then none of the hush hush conversations actually get to be as hush hush as he wants them to be. Then.
Yeah, but he's only worried about the conversations that might happen between him and another woman that he might be alone with, aside from Mother.
I mean, we're just talking about the Republican Party platform, right?
No, we're talking about Mike Pence and his weird "I won't be alone with a woman in a room" thing.
Yeah, the Republican Party platform. I'm kidding.
No, the Republican Party platform is Rudy Giuliani's "Give me your tits are my property."
I thought the Republican Party platform was don't look at my Pornhub search results. Just don't. Just look at what I've written into legislation.
I swear X.com is legitimate. It's not porn.
Welcome to X.com. I mean, you'll find porn here, but it's not a porn site, we think.
Yeah, that's the thing that Twitter still has going for it over Threads, is that there aren't titties on Threads.
So you can still look at porn on Twitter, but on Threads it's gone.
I mean, there are so many places on the internet you can go for porn, so like, okay, but it's not like that's an important function of Twitter, but like there are, well, I mean, there are a lot of OnlyFans models that like that's how they're like, that's a good chunk of their advertising is on Twitter. So it really sucks for them that Twitter's going to the shitter.
I almost said something, and then I'm like, well, hold on a minute. I just remembered a good chunk of my artists are like, but if the porn isn't on Tumblr, then why am I on Tumblr?
People are asking why you're not on Twitch. Because he doesn't feel like it.
He's
being a lazy fuckwad.
The short version is came home to house being a wreck and really, really, really do not have the energy to do more than just the stream with Rhino right now. That's the short of it.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not going to read through this whole thing. There's just a few points that I wanted to bring up. So in the indictment itself, there's a long section detailing Trump's and his co-conspirators' efforts knowingly to spread election conspiracies, falsehoods, to organize and execute the fake elector scheme, and ultimately to try and stop or delay the electoral count in Congress. That's the gist of the whole thing. Like, it's amusingly, it's 45 pages. But like,
it's 45 pages of mostly public knowledge that everybody knew.
Yeah, but it's like detailing point by point. And well, I think the thing that's new, the the main thing that's new about it is there's a lot of detailing about, like, it's not just that this happened in the public record, it's that this happened in the public record, and we also have private records that Trump knew that what he was saying here was wrong. He knew that he was lying. He knew that it was fraudulent. He had the mens rea, to use the legal term.
He was a dirty, dirty liar.
Yes. Let's see. We got the 6 co-conspirators. We kind of know who 5 out of 6 of them are. There's Rudy Giuliani is number 1. John Eastman's number 2. Sidney Powell, the Kraken, is number 3. Jeffrey Clark, who I don't really remember his name. Is that the guy that Trump tried to replace the Attorney General with? And then everybody was like, no, if you do that, we're all quitting.
I actually don't recognize that name at all. Which I know is incredibly unhelpful, but...
Yeah, the number 5 is Kenneth Cheesebro, and number 6, there are many people that it could be, so we haven't figured that one out yet. So of these people, we know Giuliani is probably flipped, based on some of the testimony that he's given with relation to other things. Mm-hmm. And there may have been a deal involved on that, so, like...
You'll get off better if you do X type of deal.
Yeah, so Giuliani flipped, so he's gone from Giuliani to Giulioffi.
You know, if I didn't know you were a dad, I would have asked if you were announcing a pregnancy with that joke.
I thought that one was clever, okay? Minimally clever, but still clever.
Sure you did.
Sure. Donald Botger.
I can't say anything. Mine are worse.
Donald Botger saying, I want number 6 to be Ginny Thomas. That would be nice, but I highly doubt it.
Number 6 turns out it was actually Hillary Clinton the entire time.
So
her emails. So
5 out of 6 of these people, like the 5 that we know, are all lawyers. And not only are they all lawyers, but they are the specific lawyers that, you remember Trump had 2 legal teams, and one of them was Team Normal, one of them was Team Crazy. And so
yeah.
these 5 lawyers were Team Crazy. Yeah, so they cooked up a scheme to thwart the Electoral Count and the ones who plotted to assail the voting rights of millions of Americans. They argued for authoritarian measures like seizing voting machines and invoking the Insurrection Act to keep Trump in power. Importantly, 5 out of 6 of them are lawyers, which leads to the next point. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, it makes sense that they would be lawyers because I'm going to be honest, Trump's a fucking idiot, but he does try to surround himself with people who know what they're doing to an extent. So, I mean, those would be the type of people you would expect to be able to cook up a scheme like this that actually has any leverage.
But what we're going to get at a little bit later is that it's only the lawyers and this one other person that are in this indictment. Like, the scale of this thing is such that the co-conspirator list should be much longer.
And yet it's just the
lawyers. Just the lawyers. So there is probably a reason for that. So primary reason they're getting all the lawyers here is that there is a defense if you are committing acts of criminal acts along with lawyers, is that you can say, like, oh, my lawyer advised me to do that, so, like, I was just following legal counsel, so obviously, like, I'm sorry that I don't know the ins and outs of the law. That's what this expert was supposed to tell me, so it's their fault, not mine. But that defense doesn't count if the lawyers are in on the crime themselves. So the fact that they are in the indictment means that he can't use that defense.
So the only way the defense works is if you can reasonably go, like, I didn't know that this was an illegal thing. My lawyer told me it was on the up and up.
For instance, my partner, when she moved in with me, she was okay. This ended up not being the case, but I'll just, like, the way it happened originally. Her lawyer told her that you need to give 30 days notice to her ex to let him know that she's moving. So she did, and then his lawyer responded with a letter being like, hey, you didn't give the required 60 days notice. And then it turned out they're like, oh, according to Ontario law, you actually do need to give 60 days notice. So in that case, that could be her being like, if that came in front of the judge, she could just be like, I was following my lawyer's advice. It's not my job to know the law inside and out. I was just doing what my lawyer told me. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But
in the case of Trump, it seems to be co-conspiracy instead.
Yeah. I mean, as it turned out in that case, is that the 60 days notice thing is for if you're moving outside of a reasonable distance, and we're within a reasonable distance. So it turns out she didn't actually need to give any notice. So 30 days was still generous. So whatever.
Oh.
But that's irrelevant here. But that's an example of when, like, a situation in which you might use this defense. My lawyer told me that was the legal thing to do. My lawyer was wrong. I'm sorry.
Sucks to be my lawyer, I guess.
Yeah. So about the missing names. So what they're saying here is that the reason they made the list so short is because they're trying to get this done quickly, because we know Trump has just flat out said it, that if he gets elected, he's going to use his power in the executive branch to just shut down the investigation, shut down the charges.
Yeah.
So
So
like,
basically,
pardon himself or whatever.
I feel like that should be its own brand of illegal.
It should be, but the point of this is that limiting how many co-conspirators they're listing in the indictment means that they don't need to gather evidence on absolutely everybody, so they don't have this overwhelming pile of work. So they're lowering the number of people that are co-conspirators in order to get the head guy.
It's the same thing as when you make something a civil suit instead of making it a higher suit, because the threshold that you need to hit
the burden
is
of proof is lower. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that makes sense.
Yeah. So Mike Pence, he wrote down a lot of notes of what was said between them. Now, technically speaking, this is if you have written notes, even if you have Mike Pence on the stand and he references his notes, technically speaking, the notes count as hearsay, but they would be admitted as a hearsay exception. Like, that's one of those things that legal dramas always like to use, is like, oh, well, that's hearsay, so it's not admissible. It's like, okay, most hearsay is admissible, because like there are a lot, like,
that's
hearsay.
What bringing a witness is 90% of the time.
Well, no, but like, so in the case of like Mike Pence's notes, like if you have Mike Pence on the stand saying, yes, those are my notes that I took on that day, he has, like, the notes themselves are still hearsay, but they're now admissible because he has validated that, like, yes, those are my notes, those are accurate, I took them on the thing. And there are all sorts of hearsay exceptions, and more often than not, hearsay evidence does get admitted. It's just like when you're on the stand, you can't be like, oh yeah, I heard my buddy Joe say that Donald was conspiring. It's like, no,
okay.
that's when you get your buddy Joe on the stand. You don't get you to say buddy Joe said it. But if buddy Joe said it to you, and you were taking notes contemporaneously during that meeting with buddy Joe, then you can say, like, here's the notes that I took from that meeting. That's admissible.
Okay, so because you're not, the notes are speaking for you, but if you point out that the notes are an accurate representation of what you said, they're admissible.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not a law talking guy. I might have some of the details here wrong, but that is my understanding. So Trump took detailed notes of everything that Pence took detailed notes of everything Trump was saying, probably just to cover his own ass, because he knew that he was the vice president to a criminal. Sorry, an alleged criminal. An alleged criminal who committed his crimes live on TV sometimes. So anyway, some of the notes that are included here is Trump told Pence that the Justice Department was finding major infractions, but this was untrue, and Trump knew it was untrue, and they know that he knew it was untrue from other documentation that they had, and other testimony that they have. So Trump said that Eastman's the guy who came up with the whole fake electors thing, and how Pence could single-handedly throw out the results of the election. And so
I'm not saying you should do these terribly illegal things.
Yeah. So
but if you were to do them, this is how you would do it.
So when Pence asked about that proposal, Eastman himself said, like, oh, well, nobody's tested it before. And Pence said to Trump at that point, even your own counsel is not saying that I have that authority. Suris is now a green square, a sentient green square. There we go.
I am back to normal.
Welcome back. So that comment not only goes to like Pence not really being cooperating, which comes into play later, but that also goes to like Trump knowing that this stuff is illegal. Is like, your lawyer is telling you that it's not really, like, I don't have that authority, and yet you're telling me to do that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, your lawyer that came up with the whole plan says that it's not a good plan. But then the key one is when Trump told Pence that he was being too honest, when Trump was like kept pressuring Pence for this. So that right there, that demonstrates the mens rea, which is the legal term for, like, so when you're proving a crime, you have to prove not only that the crime was committed, but for a lot of crimes, you have to prove that the intention to commit a crime was there, that you knew that what you were doing was illegal and decided to do it anyway. And so this is evidence for mens rea, that Trump knew that he was doing illegal things, but wanted to do them anyway.
You weren't just doing things because you're like, well, my lawyer told me.
Yeah.
It would be okay.
Yeah, and even like Pence never gave any indication to Trump that he was going to go along with this, but Trump would state publicly that, like, oh yeah, Pence is on board with this. He's gonna, like, there's a good chance that he's gonna do this for me, and yeah, you know, Pence just needs to do the right thing. And
he's doing the fake it till you make it thing, except it's just not working.
Well, no, but that's the thing. He knew Pence was not going to do this. So what he was doing was stoking up the crowd so that when Pence didn't do it, it made them feel betrayed. Like Pence had...
Oh.
So,
I mean, that tracks with everything else Trump has done, though, because his whole shtick... the only skill the dude fucking has is playing a crowd. That's the only skill he has.
Yeah. So, like, that's what they're kind of getting at with the indictment, is that, like, it's not just that he was telling Pence to do this illegal thing. It's that Pence said, no, I'm not going to do it right from the get-go, but Trump was still publicly saying, no, he could still do this. And he was telling his supporters that, like, yeah, no, all Vice President Pence has to do is exert this authority that he has, and, you know, he has the ability to do it, so we just have to, you know, believe in him, so that when he didn't do it, they now get angry that they've been betrayed.
We thought you were going to be on our side. I didn't say I was going to do that. Oh.
And then as soon as he didn't do it, he sent out the tweet that said Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. And as soon as he sent that tweet out, that's when people started chanting, "Hang Mike Pence."
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And so just a last little note, the judge that got assigned to this case, because the other one is Judge Cannon, who, like, we know, even if it goes through, even if he gets found guilty in that one somehow, if she allows enough evidence through to allow a guilty verdict to show up, like, even if that all happens, she has sentencing authority, so she's probably going to go easy on him because he's her buddy. And then he's probably still going to turn around and call her an evil snake for sentencing him to anything in the first place.
Because Trump will do that no matter who it is. It's like the drunk at the bar. He's always your friend until you stop buying him drinks. Yeah. Trump's always on your side until he thinks you're not going along with his scheme.
But the judge assigned to this case, the more important of the cases, if we're being real, is an Obama appointee named Tanya Chutkan. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how to say her last name. She was confirmed 95-0 by the Senate, so she, like, bipartisan confirmation. But she has experience with January 6 cases, and she is the only judge who has consistently imposed sentences longer than what the prosecutors have been asking for. So she's been really harsh on the January 6 people. And she also was the judge in charge of blocking his petition to... Or no, she denied his petition to block the release of records to the January 6th committee. So she allowed the January 6th committee to collect more information than Trump wanted. And in her opinion in that one, she said, presidents are not kings and plaintiff is not president. So she's not friendly to him, to say the least.
Oh, boy. I mean, running America like a business does have its downsides. People tend to look at you and go, wait a minute, this isn't supposed to be a strict hierarchy. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, that's the thing, because in the United States, if you have enough money, you can run your business however you want. And like, yeah, you might have to pay a fine here and there, but you can get away with a lot of shady shit. But this, I feel like this indictment is, and the other two indictments, and there's probably one coming from Georgia soon. I think this is evidence that like even the system isn't completely broken. It might be really, really slow, but it's not completely broken. So this gives me hope.
Some people would argue the system being slow is more of a feature and not a bug.
Well, I mean, in some cases, yeah, it is. Because you don't want, like, in the okay. So in the case of prosecuting a former president, like, that is not, like, on the one hand,
that's not a thing you want to be super slow.
Well, it's also not something you want to be super fast, because, like, on the one hand, I can see the argument for, like, nobody is above the law, not even the president or former presidents. So, like, yes, I appreciate that he is being indicted. They're not treating him as above the law. But on the other hand, because of his high stature, like, you don't want to make it easy to weaponize the Justice Department against your political enemies. So, like, you can't just indict the last guy because you don't like him, sort of thing. You have to actually go through the motion, collect all the evidence, make sure the evidence is overwhelming.
Because you can't do that thing that Trump has tried to say that Biden is going to definitely do against him.
Yeah.
Which is projection.
Yeah, no, like, obviously... I mean, obviously, to our audience, our audiences, I would think, is that that's not what's happening. Like, it wasn't the Democrats that decided to indict Trump. It wasn't Biden that decided to indict Trump. It was a grand jury, which is made up of a random selection of Americans, just regular American citizens. So, like, this isn't the weaponization of the Justice Department, and it took so long because they're making sure they have all their ducks in a row.
Yep. Which is what you want in a situation like this.
Yeah. So, like, on the one hand, it taking so long is evidence that Trump is actually getting special treatment. This should have happened a lot quicker because, like, he committed crimes on live TV. He should have just been put away right then and there. But, yeah, it is happening.
It's just taking a bit.
Yeah.